when I look at all of this, I just wanted freedom to express. And I'm the one that grants myself that. So it wasn't anything anybody else was doing. It's just fighting through all the constructs of what exists and being okay with the fact that the constructs that exist aren't for me. And that doesn't delegitimize my musicianship, my creativity, my artistry. I hold that. I hold what that is for me.
Today, I'm joined by John Churchill, a musician, composer, philosopher, and deep thinker whose approach to sound, perception, and human consciousness will make you question everything you thought you knew. We explore how our experiences are shaped by subconscious reactions, the power of music in self-discovery, and what it truly means to be present. In this episode, you'll also get to hear John's music firsthand, immersing yourself in the sounds that shape his unique approach to healing and self-discovery. If you've ever wondered how sound, memory, and emotion are connected, or how we can break free from programmed ways of thinking, this conversation will change the way you listen to the world. I'm your host, Ryan Olexson, and this is Beyond 80%. Hi, John.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
I am so excited to do this.
Yes,
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. I always like to kick this off by asking, what is one thing that you have recently unlearned from your life?
So I love the term unlearned. I'm very into the practice of seeing things from different perspectives. A perspective shift that I've had recently would be that nobody experiences the way that I experience. And that's not to say that I am special in the sense of how that statement might strike someone, because it's also true about you. So when I am in conversation with someone, if I know that no one experiences as I experience, I don't have to project my version of my experience onto you.
Say more about that. What do you mean by project?
Something that my work does is highlight the fact that we're in reaction to environment all the time. So if I'm in reaction to my environment and my experience is my experience, you are too. So if I think that you're just seeing what I'm seeing and I'm reacting, we're actually not in communication. In fact, we're both in reaction. Like conversation, like what we're doing right now, is a collaborative endeavor. But in that collaboration, if I know that you aren't experiencing like I experience, then I also know that when I communicate to you my ideas or my experiences, as you hear them, you will not be experiencing them the way I did. So in this moment, we're actually creating a new experience by me telling you this, because you're experiencing it your way and I'll be experiencing this my way. And then I can ask you about that and you could ask me about that. Then we're actually in communication rather than me talking at you to get you to see my point. So this is like the art of communication.
Yeah, it reminds me too of, there's a thought, especially in this field, around you bring all of your filters and you bring all of your assumptions with you when you communicate with anyone, and how you read that tone and how you read that environment in that moment is completely unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really interesting you bring this up, because a lot of people, I don't think, understand that. And so if you say something, you're coming at it with a specific filter, whereas that person may not have that specific filter because that experience is unique to them. How did you figure this out?
So when we bring in our filters, I know what I feel you mean by that.
Yeah.
I actually think it goes a layer back from there, because I think we think we're bringing our filters. So what I have discovered through what I do with my listening sessions and through the work that I do with music and with other people is that what we view as our filters are actually remembered states that we're not even choosing. Our bodies are always present, our mind isn't, but our bodies are reacting to our environment. Our brains are making the meaning out of it. So the filters, the assumptions, the things that we're bringing in are actually remembered. They're not actually things we're choosing. We actually don't even know that. So it goes back even further because these reactions that we have, these filters that we bring in, most of them that people have, they don't know they have them and they never chose them. So this is actually what the music research that I've done has brought out for me. This is how I realize these things is when sound happens. So we'll use like a song. When music hits, you do not choose how you feel at all. You instantly feel something and you didn't choose it. And as far as the meaning you make around it, that's made up. So you felt something, and then what it means to you is stored. So your body is rattled by vibration, sound waves, and then your brain makes meaning out of it. And that meaning, for the most part, is something that was generated before you even chose what things mean, which is very weird and uncomfortable to hang out with.
I agree with you. Do you think, though, that the meaning, once you become aware of it, does become a choice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, when you become aware of a meaning, how would you go about changing that meaning?
This is my personal practice. And this is based off of a book that I shared with you before we were recording called Philosophy in the Flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to give a little bit of a precursor for your listeners, I heard about this book through reading Master and His Emissary, the Ian McGilchrist. And he made a point that our brain interacts with music metaphorically. And I knew, being a musician, he is talking about something that I've never heard somebody say. And it made me feel so seen because I have such a deep, profound relationship with music. And that's exactly it. So this philosophy in the flesh is all about metaphor. And what they discuss is that we have these things called primary metaphors, and they are remembered in our bodies from infancy and adolescence. And these primary metaphors are how we conceptualize our lived experience. So I could say, like, it was a warm embrace. Like, I had a warm embrace with my mom. It was so sweet. We know what that means, but what it means is affection. But we have this subjective experience of the warm embrace, but it's also tied to sensory motor function of temperature. I could say, I see what you're saying. What does that mean? Well, I have the subjective experience of understanding, but it's using the sensory motor function of sight. We conceptualize our world with our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Every bit of how we conceptualize our experience is because we have the bodies that we have. And this is how we empathize or understand other people. They also have bodies. And so this is the way that we conceptualize things and build our world together. But these metaphors, we don't choose. They're like embedded in our meaning making from childhood. And they're given to us. And they were given to us by people who had them given to them, by people who had it given to them. It's this long train of meaning making generationally that no one knows about. So it's almost as if within my DNA, there is a remembrance of certain kind of conceptualizations around existence itself. Now you ask, like, how do you get rid of this, or how do you disentangle things? I call it disintegration, and not disintegrating things in terms of destroying, but disintegrating. So I love to use this like picture of having this like woven thing. And that's like my starting point. And everything that's in there that's like woven in. And I've developed the practice of recognizing what that feels like. Like, what does it feel like for something to be struck within me that wants a reaction? And I've developed this practice of saying, I'm getting to the root of this. I want to know what just happened. And I will sit with it. It used to be where I might sit with it for days, just knowing that it's there. Now it's much faster because I recognize it. It's become a practice. But then I sit and meditate with this, and I want to go back to the beginning of where it started for me. Like, for instance, I'll get personal here. Self-hatred. It actually bleeds into, like, for me, I dealt with self-hatred for a very long time, and it was tied to things that I never chose. So self-hatred also can have entangled with it anger, and anger itself, right? So I'll have like I've recently, like, I guess within the last year, there was a situation that happened that triggered something within me, and I witnessed my thoughts. These are thoughts that I hadn't seen in a long time, which is weird to think. It's like thoughts I'm familiar with and have seen before, and I haven't seen them in years. If something hits me and I feel it, I don't have to hate myself for that. I didn't choose that. I can see the process and be kind to myself because something is stored in this being that needs to be loved right now. This is not outsourcing your healing. This is insourcing your healing.
Yeah.
You are your own healer.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, I just want to clarify. So you went through this period of time in your life, you moved through it, and then you felt that familiar space again through something that happened. And when you say that you recognize those thoughts, the thoughts of what you would tell yourself, the feelings within your body, are those encompassing that familiarity?
So, kind of. It's almost like not even necessarily a period in time because it started out that way. So, like, let's say there was a specific period of my life, like in my 20s, where I dealt with a lot of chronic depression. And I would initially think that this self-hatred was practiced during that time. So the practice for me was being who I am now, going back to whatever memory I felt like this was from and loving that. Now, there is no distinction. That is the same being. And so I can be grateful that that person that is me found a way. But it doesn't actually end there because that's not actually where it started. That's my 20s. It goes back further. And so it's actually seeing this through thread line as far back as I can go from me now to me then, loving that, saying that doesn't apply here anymore, and letting it go. And this practice, it's very strange. I don't learn the same lesson twice anymore. It's very, very like specific because it's to very specific things. So in some weird way, through like music revealing this to me, you can find your original reactionary states and rewrite them. And in that way, I am not my reactions. I am behind them. That's a different way of being. It feels super calm. It's very present. It's very precise work, and it took me a lot of practice. But I'm like my own guinea pig here. Like, it works. I can be comfortable with the fact that what I'm doing with my life, there's a paradox here. When I have people come in and have a listening session experience, they are having an experience. And I will never tell them what their experience means, ever. But I also like pouring my life into something that I know I'm making. I don't need it to be true in the sense of what we think knowledge is. I want it to be useful for me. My life is not in service to others. There's no one to serve. I just want to collaborate. I want to make things. I want to invite people into a different way of viewing life where I don't have to, like, just to qualify some things. I've been in a very dark place in my life. I have been in the hospital on suicide watch. I have been incredibly depressed for years of my life. Thinking the way that I did then is impossible for me now. It is impossible for me to do that again.
So what changed? What was the catalyst there?
A lot of things. There is no singular catalyst.
Was there one moment where you decided, this is not the way I want to continue on?
I would say the starting point was loving myself.
And how did you even do that? That can be a challenge for
I
many
didn't even
people.
know it was an option. Like, it was given as a perspective. I did not even know it was an option that I could love myself, because I was raised to hate myself. I was raised to judge being alive. This is what like certain religions do.
Yeah.
This is also something that's very uncomfortable for people when I say everything is made up. Everything is made up. And there's nothing but freedom in that for me.
It reminds me of a theory in therapy, and it's called internal family systems. Have you heard of that?
Very familiar.
So, and just for our listeners, there's all these different parts of you. You have your happy part, your angry part, your sad part. All of those exist within you, but you're not any of them. You're all of them. And what I love about IFS and why it reminds me of this is we get to be our own observers during situations, during different moments in time, but we get to actually accept those parts of us. So, for instance, some of these parts may be very useful in certain situations, but we don't, to your point, we have a choice. We don't need to become them. And so the integration piece of this, similar to IFS, is accepting that that is part of you and that there's a place and time for it, but it doesn't necessarily need to lead your experience 24/7 in every situation that you have. Does that feel similar to what you're discussing?
So I think at a certain stage, this way of viewing your parts is useful. And it's useful for a lot of people, because having reactions and having all of these varieties of ways of being can feel chaotic. So putting these things into parts feels a lot more manageable, because now I can actually separate these things rather than it all being clumped together. However, you have witnessed your entire life, not the identities that people have told you to be, not any meaning around how you're supposed to live, what's right, what's wrong, what you're supposed to do with your life, not even your thoughts. You have witnessed your entire life. And I think with IFS or things, systems like that, it gets you to start being that you in some way. In some way.
When you say you are a witness to your entire life, it reminds me actually of Ram Dass's book and Becoming Nobody. And when I think about that as the witness or the observer, and a lot of actually in therapy, they talk a lot about this, being the observer of your own life, your own, to your point, your own reactions, all of that, and that you are none of them, but you are. When it comes to being a witness, technically, you are a nobody, you yourself. So that's like one way that I kind of think about that, is you are none of the identities that you're put on. And in a way, it puts these cages around you, because depending on what society you live in, there are certain roles or things that you need to say or things that you need to do within those identities. But when you take all of those out, who are you? And then I think, well, you're just you, your authentic self. Does that resonate at all with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that there are different terms that people can use where it hits them as like, that's what I feel is true, like what you're saying. And you use the word nobody. And I know that you were taking that from Ron Dass. I'm curious, when you say nobody, what does that mean to you?
I would say I'm nobody in the sense that I'm not a particular identity.
When it's nobody, like instead of saying, what does that mean to you? What does that feel like?
Hmm. It feels like it feels confusing, but it also feels like everybody.
Hmm.
So it's that confusion point of nobody because it's hard to see myself without any identity. But then I also see the opportunity to be everybody.
Hmm. I realize that words are felt.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think in words, you are not hearing words. When I say every, I could say every book on this shelf.
Mm-hmm.
You have a felt sense of what every means. You have a felt sense of what book is. We recognize it with our eye, but you have a felt sense of what that means. All that communication is feeling. We live in a world that doesn't do that with words, though. We pretend they have vocabulary definitions to say something definite and like exact. Words are felt.
So, how do you find the right words to express yourself then?
Oh man, I love this question. And I actually learned this in my listening sessions because people will have these enormously imaginative experiences. And when they talk about them, it deadens them because they're not actually encompassing what the experience was.
I love how you look at the world in this way
Hmm.
because it brings so much magic to it.
Ryan, you said the magic word. Everything is magic.
Yeah.
We live in a world that we recognize. We live in a world that we recognize as if we understand what's going on. It's quite possible that your listeners listening to this whole thing around words being felt, they've never considered. We have a way of having sound come out of our mouths to mean what we think, and we're not blown away by that.
Yeah.
Like we are talking into something that we have named a microphone that takes in something we call sound waves to turn it into something we call an electric signal to turn it back into something we call sound waves, and our brains aren't exploding. We don't know what that is. We just know what it's called. Everything is magic.
Everything is magic.
And this is also part of like what drives me is that if we think about how we're operating as people in the world, our attention has been stolen. We don't know how to pay attention. We're living in a world of reactions. We don't know it. What happens when we stop reacting? What happens when we have a prolonged period of time of interaction with our environment that we're not naming anything, that we're actually just experiencing our environment? From my personal life, I will tell you it's incredible. We have no idea what's going on in terms of conscious experience. We have no idea what it is possible to experience as a human being. We don't know
Yeah.
because we also live in a world that discounts our imaginative experiences and say it was in your imagination. What isn't? Like, I have people in my listening sessions that have, just with music, the most profound experiences. I had somebody actually relived a memory from over 40 years ago. And they had just had a stroke the month before where they like back to back strokes in the memory portion of their brain and literally relived a memory with something invisible striking their body. And I mean sound waves.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea what's going on.
When you say you experience the world just out there in the open and don't necessarily focus on anything or your attention is not drawn to it, how do you do that?
Mm. We are distracted by our sight. It is a very strong sense. Sight, taste, smell, touch. Your sense of touch, like we call it touch, But your sense of feeling is the most powerful thing. It's actually how you're operating in your life, how I'm operating in my life all the time. And I'm not aware that that's what it is. And I also think because we can have the ability to differentiate our senses. So, like, I know that I can have my sight separated from my sense of smell, separated from my sense of taste, from my sense of hearing, from my sense of touch. They are all vibratory and they're all leading to the same place. And that is your body. Your body in every present moment is interacting with the environment. So, music or sound is a direct way into your body to see what's happening. But you can use that as a practice to realize you don't need it. So I do this with my piano students because I teach piano as well. I can talk about my hand. And when I say my hand, all of a sudden, my hand is something I have. I'm calling it my hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also have this exercise where I have them and I guide them through it of going inside their hand, feeling the inside of their palm, and then I guide them up their fingers and around to actually feel their entire hand. And what ends up happening to all of them is they actually feel their hand in a way they've never felt it before. It's very weird, but our bodies are like beacons. Like they're like, hey, we're here, like presence. So in that, when they're feeling their hand, it's like, well, now your attention is on your hand or in your hand and you're feeling it. Is there actually any distinction between your hand and you? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
Right. So then for them, like, this is a fun thing, but like, okay, are you playing the piano with your hands or are you playing the instrument?
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when they're doing that, this is a transformative thing for them because now they're not thinking about and they're not separate from the music itself. They're actually feeling themselves making sound. It's incredibly personal because you are actually feeling as you generate something that's going to make you feel. So then, which is the music. The music instantly makes you feel, but you're already feeling. So it's feeling on feeling on feeling on feeling on feeling. It's a conversation.
What do your students say when you do this exercise with them? What do they say when they understand this? Do they say it changes the way that they feel the music or play the music?
For some, their first try is it's a little distracting because they're now putting their attention on something different than they usually do. But so it takes a couple of tries for them. But for most, it's stunning because I have struggled for years on how do you communicate to a student on how to play with emotion. Like, how do you go from like learning how to play a song to actually playing a song? It's actually very hard because on the piano, you are playing multiple functions. You are playing what is essentially a singing voice, as well as creating a world of sound around it. And the volumes have to be different. So that means you have to learn how to play different volumes with different fingers while others are playing at the same time. It's actually mechanically very hard. And this is why, like, they'll do brain scans of concert pianists, and they literally, like, we literally have areas of our brain that are larger than other people's because of this. You work on so much of your own neuroanatomy just learning how to play this instrument. So how do you get a student to not think what they're doing? That's a challenge. And so I found, oh, you don't think your emotions, you feel them. And music is emotion. Like when it hits you with an emotional like piece to it, right? So if they're feeling and then they feel the sound coming at them, it transforms things. I've had like middle schoolers sound like concert pianists like in 10 seconds because they're feeling it. There's like an inherent knowing in a human being on how to express. It's wild.
That is.
Yeah.
So, music is obviously very intertwined in the human experience. Why are certain people drawn to composing or playing music?
I've actually thought about this a lot because I've been teaching for 15 years. And in that time, there are some that it's like they just get it right away. Then there are some where they're like sleepers, where it takes a while. Then there's some people that just don't get it. And part of it, I really believe, has to do with like perception. Like, what do you think you're doing? So we live in a world that I noticed this with students, that it's turned learning an instrument into a chore. It's work. And I actually know why it feels that way. It's a real strain on the brain, dependent on how you're learning. The problem for students is that they mix learning and teaching at the same time. So this is what strains the brain. I've had 6-year-olds, when I was first starting to teach, cry just from asking them to do something with 2 hands because it hurt their brain so much. Like, they were so confused, they started crying. I didn't know why they were crying at the time. Now I understand. But when you are actually playing something with your hands, like when you're learning it, like let's say you're learning a new song, when your hands touch the keyboard, you are actually now teaching them. You're actually teaching yourself how to play. So if you're learning and teaching at the same time, you can't do that. And so what ends up happening is that there's parts of your brain that break things into bits, and that's coming online and doing it the whole time. So it actually triggers a ton of anxiety, fear, and then give up. And it's because they don't know that's happening. And it's like an experience of, I'm feeling all this like crazy vibration. I don't like this. I want out. And then like piano or any other instrument can turn into homework instead of it being a joy. And like, I want out. I really feel this immense gratitude whenever I play. I'm doing something that if I say I know what this is, I'm lying. But I'm so glad it exists.
Mhm.
We get to do this. Like, this is incredible.
Every moment in the human experience has music intertwined with it. You have war, they have music.
Mm-hmm.
They have celebration, to your point, music. Someone passes away, there's music.
Yes. And you know what? Like, I really like to peel back layers on things, to use a metaphor here. When I like had that realization that words are felt, I instantly understood that words are music. It's like a very specific tone or a specific chord. And so we can make a distinction, and I'm glad that we do, around like what music is from other things. So like we have this art form that's developed around this thing we're calling music. Everything is vibrating around you all the time. So when I say everything is made up, it can feel like a lie. What I'm really trying to say is everything is created and we're a part of it.
I feel like this is such a hard thing for people to jump onto, but it makes sense, because if you and I walked outside and we saw a path, you might say, hey, that's a road. And then I say, oh, yeah, that's a road. And then from there, we start putting cars on it. It's a road. So that's where this concept of it's made up. Humans have created everything. And to your point, this framework that we've all built to understand who we are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm following you with the everything is made up. Everything has been created by humans.
Mm-hmm. This goes into reactionary states. So there's actually plenty of things that I've talked about so far that can make somebody very uncomfortable. Like if I ask you the question, are you your thoughts? Some people, that destroys them for a moment.
Yeah.
Because for them, they feel like they are their thoughts. They've never considered that. Now everything's starting to feel like chaos. Like, who am I? right? It's an uncomfortable thing, right? Even that is creation, though. Something new is happening. The fear is the reaction to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in terms of making things up in every given moment, this goes back to being like you have witnessed your entire life. No one has the authority to tell me what my experience is because they don't know.
How freeing is that too?
Right. And it also like it initially feels like a free fall for some,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, hold on, like all these frameworks around understanding my life are like disintegrating here. Like what's going on? But that's only one perspective. So you think about perception, it's like your initial reaction is fear, like that's what this means. No, you actually aren't even aware yet that you get to choose what it means. This is like getting outside of your reactions, learning about them on purpose to actually be present in life.
I like the way that you define these things now. Useful and made up. I it just puts my head in a different space.
Mm-hmm.
So keep going, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to point
This
that
is
out.
in my experience. Music has revealed to me these reactive states. And I am in collaboration with the things that I've researched to have this perspective. And I am my own guinea pig, and it worked.
Yeah.
Music at times in my life, music literally at one point actually saved my life. At other points, it's taught like so much about how I communicate is because I am incredibly in line with emotion. When we think of like music and how it makes us feel, I'm expressing, right? When you think as a listener, the music's making you feel something, right? When I'm playing, I am expressing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expressing all of these emotions that are striking other people, and I'm also feeling them. So if words are felt, and I'm really in tune with like human emotion and felt experience, it's informed me of a lot. And I've sat with that and thought about that a lot. So that's been like what has informed my experience. And as far as how that's even led me to the point of like what I'm doing with listening sessions, it's that I felt the way we like do music as a society, it's not bad. Like whether it's concerts, whatever we're doing,
Yeah.
none of it is lining up with me, which I felt so weird. It's like I love making things. I love sharing things. I don't want fans. I don't want to market. I don't want to entertain you. What is that? How do I do that? And I had this like realization, people are distracted. When they come to see me play, they want to watch my hands.
Mm-hmm.
That means they're not hearing what I'm making.
They want to watch you. Yeah.
Right. They're not in relationship with the thing I made. I want to get them closer to being in relationship with the thing that I made versus me as a person and the things I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I put on this concert, releasing an album for like over 100 people. I had them in like a half circle, and I brought in a DJ that was like set up behind the crowd. And I have like some electronic compositions that I'd done. When people were walking in, I just had a playlist that was setting the mood. And when people came and sat down, there were eye masks on all the chairs. And so they didn't know that the DJ was actually going to be a part of what I was doing. So after I play my first piece, I end up inviting them to put on their eye masks and start playing. And then the electronic stuff comes from behind because the piano is facing them.
Mm-hmm.
They had no idea that vibration is going to be coming from behind as well. I followed up with the crowd afterwards. The different experiences that people had, I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing now. This was insane. Like, people are experiencing what I experience, but in their own way. I was like, this is it. Then I thought like, oh, like I'll just do this at a smaller scale because I want to hear what people are saying. I want them to share. And so that turned into like a whole different thing now. But that was like the beginning point.
So let's back up and jump into your sessions.
Yeah.
How did they come about? What are they? Tell listeners a little bit how we got here.
Mm-hmm. So the sessions came about after this concert. And I like reflected on that concert, on the things that were the pros and cons of doing it the way that I did. And this mixes in some of the philosophy stuff that we talked about earlier. I want to break the way we're doing things as people. And this goes back into like attention. I wanted it to be smaller, so it's only up to like 16 people. And the way that I do it is like I'll play for like 15 minutes while everyone's blindfolded. They wake up and share their experience with everyone. And I do 3 rounds of that. But what is actually happening is that people are in a room with other human beings experiencing the exact same thing, and no one is having the same experience, and they get to share it in real time. So what ends up happening is their imaginations and their experiences are actually the art of the evening. They're actually playing artists. And the event will never repeat itself because no one will ever experience it the same way. It's a representation of what is actually happening in life. Every moment is new.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So when someone is sharing, what ends up happening is that people throughout the evening get to play both perceiver and participant. So in that, we are all the artists and all the audience simultaneously throughout the night. And so it's actually showing that we're all creating our realities. We're all doing this.
And so when, after you said after each section, you have people share what they experience.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that you've heard? I know you shared a little bit before.
So it's been a wild variety. Like I had a guy live the entire life of another person in 15 minutes. He actually started at the end of someone's life, went back to their childhood and relived it. I've had many, many people be in the rainforest, and they're not seeing color, they're feeling it.
Why do you think that is?
My suspicion is that I actually think what's going in your ears is such a small part of what's actually happening. Your body is getting coated in sound waves. And we have 2 forms of hearing, so we say. And obviously, like, you hear via your ears, but neurologists think that they've discovered this thing called the dorsal column in your spine, which leads into an area called your olivary nucleus in your brainstem, where you hear via vibration. So you can like take a tuning fork, hit it, and put it on the back of your head, and at a certain point, wherever you find it, you actually hear it in your brain.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And that goes straight from there to memory center in your brain.
Wow. Okay, let's break it down real quick. So music waves come in, hits a certain part of my ear, which hits the back of some part of my brain.
That's part of it.
That's
it's hitting
part of
your
it.
skin. So the nerve endings for your dorsal column are all over your skin.
So it's not just my ears, it is my full body.
This is where I was telling you that our felt sense is so important.
Yeah.
Like, our felt sense is really important. We're engaging, like, we are an antenna for vibration. And so when people are having their experiences, like I'll say people that lay under the instrument have the most profound experience. They're getting coated in sound waves, and they're just being pelted by, and when we say sound waves, it's not just noise. This is a wide variety of emotional states of vibration. It's just getting amplified. So it's not like I'm just overwhelmed by noise. No, you're actually getting the front row seat to the changes of frequencies of all the different vibrations that are happening. And for a lot of people, they have a felt sense of their body that they didn't know was possible. Like, their bodies are glowing. What they're feeling is something I would call your own energy. It's always there, but you're actually learning how to feel it now.
Feel it.
That is always there. The music is just making you aware of it.
So the vibration hits the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our body takes it in. Then it goes to that particular part in our brains that is attached to our memory.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. I've never heard that.
So this is what I'm saying, Ryan. We need to understand how we work. We're making up stories. Like, think about the thing around like giving therapy to people that experience trauma, or even talking about PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
This is the power of belief, Ryan. If somebody is told they are traumatized and they feel it, and enough people around them tell them that this is a thing, we're believing that into existence.
We create that association.
Yes.
Yeah.
What we believe in matters.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean it's true. It means we make it true.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. But it's also like, again, it can be unnerving for certain people because this goes back into metaphor being useful. What you believe in, what you think is truth, isn't what you think it means.
You're bringing this full circle, and this is such a subject that's near and dear to my heart, because one of the reasons I'm actually going into mental health therapy is because I don't agree with how it's done. And we're missing this chunk that you're talking about right now, of understanding how in tune our bodies are with not only people, but objects and plants and nature and all of that. We don't understand that connection. So when people are in this state and you blindfold them, what do you think happens? I know we touched on this a little bit before, but I want to kind of hit on it. The act of blindfolding, I know visual is very powerful for us, but the act of blindfolding, do you think that it draws the attention inward so people notice that? Is that the idea around it?
Well, the initial point of it was just because your sense of sight is so strong as like a distraction, getting rid of that allows you to actually witness certain things. And what you're witnessing is actually your, like what we might call your subconscious, right? This is
Yeah.
like that witness, the you, the what is behind that. What I'll say about these listening sessions that's significant for people is that most people aren't comfortable going there. Like it's actually a place that people avoid. They don't know they're avoiding it, but they avoid it because of the things that are the belief structures that they have. They avoid it. The listening sessions are allowing them to experience something beautiful while they're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes the experience of witnessing themselves in their own imagination not dangerous, but beautiful. So it's actually like, you might, I don't know, like psychedelic therapy's gotten really like popular, and I think there's definitely a place for it, and I'm a big fan. But a lot of those experiences for people are very terrifying. And part of that is like they end up needing like a grounding source. It's like their subconscious is doing something, and it's doing it in something that's actually has like fewer constraints. The music is actually creating a container for the person's imagination, and it's creating a container of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it actually allows these people, that for people that have never done it before, like it allows people to actually go inward and feel their body in a safe place while they're also enjoying it. And if they aren't, I'm there for them. So like I've learned for like over my research on how to actually be a grounding source for somebody who is actually afraid.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually getting the chance to witness yourself. And something that's really incredible that's mentioned in Mastered as Emissary is your brain interacts with music as if it's alive. Think about that.
Yeah, I'm
So
going
it's
there.
like music can be your teacher. You're interacting with something that's alive. And that alive thing is reminding you that you are too. That's crazy,
That is crazy.
right? And to me, like the reason that I would think that that's even a thing to notice, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about what's special about music is it's like a vibratory celebration of existence. Like sometimes I think that we don't actually know that we're alive because we are so in our minds.
Yeah.
And again, our bodies are always present. You exist, you know?
Yeah. I mean, even back to your point of people don't like to feel. They're either taught not to feel, or they don't like that space of being uncomfortable because of those emotions that are uncomfortable for some of us. I mean, it makes sense. Do you ever adjust your compositions based on the energy that's in the room at that moment?
I've done that in the past. I'm actually at a different point now because I feel like part of what the listening sessions have been for me is also an exercise in presence, where I'm at the point now that if I'm focusing on the energy of other people in the room, I'm not having my experience. I'm not focused on my experience.
Going back to you're projecting your experience on someone else.
Right. So I am perceiving what their energy might mean and how I can manipulate that. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to be as honest as possible. And I'm as honest as possible when I'm expressing from me. So they'll have an experience regardless. And I want to be in what I'm doing.
When did you start playing music? I don't think you mentioned that yet.
Um, it was like a couple of weeks before my 5th birthday. I remember I had my first piano lesson. But I've been, I play a lot of instruments. I took piano lessons for a few years and took up guitar and taught myself drums. And then I play a variety of things, but I didn't stop playing piano per se, but I didn't really play again until college. When I was getting my composition degree, I had to pick a primary instrument, and so I picked piano. And when I really got into the weeds with it, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I want to do this."
So, when you talk about some of the hard parts that you've been through in your life and how music saved you, was that before you started on this path, or is that what got you on this path?
Mm. It's interesting to think about it as a path. I can't help but think that that's like a metaphor.
Damn it, I keep walking into them, don't I?
Well, we are the entire time. Yeah.
What led you on this particular thread?
Yeah, yeah. So it happened so oddly. It really happened because of tension. And it was literally like the week leading up to that first concert that I told you about, where I'm just at this frustration point where I'm like, I just don't like I'm trying to find something and I don't know what that is. And I think when I look at all of this, I just wanted freedom to express. And I'm the one that grants myself that. So it wasn't anything anybody else was doing. It's just fighting through all the constructs of what exists and being okay with the fact that the constructs that exist aren't for me. And that doesn't delegitimize my musicianship, my creativity, my artistry. I hold that. I hold what that is for me. I'm doing that with quote unquote concerts. Or you could even say I'm doing that with sound baths because you could look at it as like they look like they're really similar.
Yeah.
And there are some similarities. And that's okay. Because the idea around originality, I don't care. Like I love what I'm doing and the idea occurred to me and I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. It just isn't. Like
Yeah.
you were always involved in the creation. Like we are in this constant state of becoming. There is no arrival. There's no place to get to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a metaphor, right? We are constantly becoming. And that becoming is creation. Like it's perspectives, it's interactions. It could be an interaction with a person. It could be an interaction with like a painting that you're looking at, with a tree, going out on a hike. Everything has the potential to blow your mind into a new perspective because we're in this constant state of becoming.
Such a mind blow in a good way. You've almost taken this framework that just in regular society, we think of like, creativity is like this little box. It's part of our day. It's part of our life in general. It's a hobby. It's, how we express ourselves. But that is separate from the rest of our life when in reality, imagine flipping that on its head and it actually becomes the majority of your life. Everything is creativity because you're constantly creating. You're going to work, you're constantly creating. You're creating the relationships. And I can't help but think adding that template to your everyday is wildly more exciting than I have to do this and I have to do this to get to this level, to get to this end journey. And you make the best point ever is that it's all about the becoming or the journey or the path itself. It's when we get there, then I feel like you sit there and you're like, well, now what? What do I do now? Well, you just start another one. But in reality, it's just one long becoming.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. It also just calms things down.
Yeah.
Like this thing that you have somewhere to be. Where? Where do you have to be?
Yeah.
Where do you need to get to accept who you are? Like, what is that marker that's going to show you that you became the thing you wanted to become? It's likely it doesn't exist.
Well, it's you.
Right. Because these made up things, like if we don't know about those reactionary states,
Mm-hmm.
you aren't even aware that you're living in the construct of a made up thing around what it is to be an artist. You're living in a made up story that somebody else said.
Some of what you're talking about too is what causes anxiety in
Yeah.
everyday life, right?
Yes. This is expectations.
Yeah.
You have the striving for something that you're expecting to happen. In doing that, you can't be present.
Mm-hmm.
You're confusing creation with control.
Well, and even depression, right? Depression is usually tied to what you've been through and living in the past and that regret. But the way that you're describing it is how all of those moments and experiences have added to this very moment that you're in.
Mm. Yeah, and actually, so you just reminded me of something that like came to me a while back. You witness your thoughts, right? You aren't your thoughts. Being depressed or anxious, you're pretending that those are thoughts you like. Now, I can say that, and it's possible that a lot of your listeners will be very uncomfortable with me saying that. Like it feels like it belittles the state of being depressed to say that you're pretending that these are thoughts that you like. When I say pretend, I'm not using that word offhand like it doesn't matter. We're pretending everything into existence. We're in creation. I can't have the perspective that I'm pretending that these thoughts are made up or that I'm liking them, that I don't have to have them until I have that perspective. Until I have that perspective, I might as well be my thoughts. So a person that's legitimately experiencing depression, they have a felt sense in their body that their brain has made a memory to. They may even say, I'm having the beginning of a depressive episode. They recognize that and they're saying what that is. I've been there. Then you're in it and it's like you're consumed by it and you're living in it. And you don't feel like you have the power to say, these are thoughts I don't like, because you don't know where the thoughts are coming from. They don't just generate out of nowhere. We live in a world that will tell you that that's what happens. We don't understand depression. We need to medicate this. Since when? Well, actually, we know that. It's since like the 1960s. What happened before then? What was that like? I mean, I don't know. It was made up then too. Ryan, this is an invitation. It's an invitation to actually consider a different perspective and allow your body to feel what that's like. What does it feel like to think something different? So, like, words are felt, right?
Mm-hmm.
We think in words, thoughts, thoughts are felt. Thoughts are your beliefs. I believe I'm a depressed person. I believe I have anxiety. And I'm surrounded by people that are regurgitating that back to me, including professionals.
Mm-hmm. And I can't get out of it unless I take this pill.
Right. What if we make a world where it's like, rather than doing that, what if we learn how to cultivate our own creativity
Mm-hmm.
to make the experience that we want to have in being ourselves?
What world that would be.
I have no idea what that would look like. Pretend can be an imagination too. These are words that we like associate with children. And then we like throw that away as if that's like a childlike activity. Your imagination is your gift. It's not child's play. Children don't yet know or have the experience to actually like engage in imagination the way that an adult can. What if our imagination, this connection to magic, whatever you think that word means, to pretend, to existence. Just in the same way I've spent my life getting really, really good at piano. What if I spend my life getting really, really in touch with creative imagination? I have no idea what's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you working on right now? And what are some upcoming projects or even sessions that our listeners can look for?
What I am working on right now is a very weird answer to your question, I would think, but I am currently working on developing skill within my own self of recognizing vibrations and what they are and how to feel them. So I've been putting a lot of time into meditation around felt sense and how much I can actually be in tune with in my actual environment. So when I talk about like my body is always present, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole that goes. And it also plays into my listening sessions. Like all of my meditations or the listening sessions of the different things play into other things that I'm doing. But right now, most of my attention is on I want to know how much this body can experience. Like I don't like I think the beginning of like having body awareness or like body scanning and meditation is a tip of a very deep iceberg.
Absolutely. Where are you looking for kind of finding this information or teaching yourself more about it?
Yeah. So this is honestly, it's within my lived life. So like I come into contact with other people that fascinate me and I want to learn from them. Like, what are you doing? And then I know that however I experience it will be different than them.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
you're just kind of pulling where it makes sense for you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And all of it is in connection to vibration. Like I'm really into creative play.
Mhm.
Your felt experience is far more informative to you about your experience and about your existence than reading what somebody else said.
Mhm.
Like it's very informative. And because I've been doing this practice for so long, it seems like silly how fast this is happening. Like so many new perspectives just from sitting with things that vibrate. Sitting with things that vibrate generate new thoughts. Sitting with things that have different vibrations than I've interacted with before. Think about that. You could sit with something that has a vibration you've never experienced. That, by definition, will give you a different felt sense. What does your imagination do with that? So if you like free your mind, so they say, meaning be in your body with something that has a particular vibratory quality, your imagination will do something with that. Your body will do something with it because it's experiencing something new. That's creativity,
Yeah.
right? So like a lot of people could have these like, call it woo woo or like these offhand things to like discount experiences of other people. And I understand that. But I also understand my way of engaging with things that it's like now at that point when somebody's off like offhand, it's like somebody saw what I'm doing and just says that's like woo woo or weird. I'm engaged with existence more than you are. That's my felt experience because like everything's vibrating. I just want to be creative. I don't need to name anything. Like this is all play.
Yeah.
Like I have feathers that I play with. Like, and by play, it's like I meditate with them. If everything is vibrating, feathers have their own vibration. What does my creativity do with moving a feather through felt space if I'm actually feeling it? And if I'm not thinking about the activity that I'm doing? Consider that. I could actually view, like, if let's say I have a feather in my hand and I'm moving it back and forth, right? I could have the thought of how stupid I look, right? And I'm not being present with what I'm doing. But if I'm in my body feeling this thing, I have no idea what my imagination is going to do. I've had some of my most profound philosophical perspective switches with feathers.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Feathers.
I can't tell you how much of what I've told you today is from feathers.
Well, there we go.
And like,
Are feathers the new stones?
you know what I love about like me saying like feathers? And by the way, maybe what I love about me bringing up the feather there is like, I feel as if like everything that I've said, like it sounds neat and all this. And then at the very end is like, he learned that from a feather. You know what I mean?
He gets
by
it
this?
all from the feathers. Just by moving it and just sitting and feeling that vibration that's coming from
Right.
it. Just a feather.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
I love it.
Right. It's so weird.
It's
awesome.
It is, but I mean, again, how would you know any of this until you just do stuff like this?
Yeah.
You play.
Yeah, and a part of it is learning to trust your experience.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to discount your experience because we offload and put our experience onto others to tell us what our experience means all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's wild. You tell me who I am. We're told that from the beginning. There's a ton of psychological research on the development of self.
Yeah.
And you develop yourself through interactions with the other, like with other people. Think about that. Your sense of self is actually because of everyone else telling you who you are. So to me, growing up, like if I want to use metaphors, becoming an adult is recognizing that isn't who you are.
It's unlearning.
Right.
Everything you've been taught.
Correct. And that doesn't mean that some of it you don't keep.
Mm-hmm.
There may be things that you learn that you like, and then you get to choose whether or not you want to keep it integrated.
You get to choose.
Right. But you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all adulthood is.
Right.
Okay. Well, with that, I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. But before we go, I have to ask if you will play us a little something from your piano.
Yes.
Awesome. To connect with John and learn more about Classical Inc. or attend one of his listening sessions in Austin, check out the links in the show notes below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode and further topics we can explore on this podcast together. So leave a comment below or reach out via email at beyond80%@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an opportunity to think, question, and evolve. I'm your host, Ryan Olexson, and this is Beyond 80%.